Friends, when you focus on problems, you see more problems. When you focus on possibilities, you see opportunities. That's our motto at Ignite Possibilities, to make you explore more of your possibilities. Tonight, we have amongst us an amazing personality, Sukhdeepak Malwai. Sukhdeepak Malwai ji has been conducting transformational training across the globe for more than 3 decades. He has trained and coached more than 20,000 people, over 150 organizations across 17 countries. He has been trained in MBTI and EFT. He has international certifications from Moda USA and SDI UK, certified assessor, certified by Edexcel UK. He is a certified mediator who conducts program on selling with integrity, a Reiki Grandmaster, Avatar Master, Theta Healer, Pranic Healer, Vipassana Mediator, Access Consciousness Facilitator, NLP Trainer, Semantic Transformational Processor, has been conducting studies on consciousness for more than 15 years and conducts program to raise your SQ, that is spiritual quotient, and increase intuition. Here helps individuals and organizations to get both peak performance and opportunity. The very versatile veteran coach and renowned healer, Sukhdeepak Malwai ji.
Good evening, everybody, and a very, very happy new year. And something that if I was asked to stand in front of a group of wonderful, magnificent, extraordinary human beings like you, I would be absolutely petrified. So I was one of those shy sales managers, excellent in one-to-one, person who had read something like 600 books by the time I was 27 years old. I was one of those know-it-alls, you understand? But I was a guy who was pretending to be confident. I was pretending to be happy. I was pretending that I know everything, but when I looked at my life, it wasn't a life that I loved. And I was certainly not living my life powerfully. And then one day something happened. And at the end of 3 days, major transformation happened in my life. An introvert got converted into an extrovert. Someone who couldn't speak in front of 4 people started speaking in front of 300 people. Somebody who was so timid and shy suddenly became courageous enough to chuck his multinational company job and go and join that organization. And then I worked for 12 to 14 years with that organization, training myself. Now the question is, what is it that happened to me? Now I've chosen this topic about beliefs. And there is a reason why I've chosen it. In the year 1982, when I got transformed, what actually got transformed was something deep inside me, very closely held beliefs inside me, they changed. And when those beliefs changed, the way I looked at the world changed. And the way I looked at myself changed. The way I looked at my relationships changed. The world was the same, people were the same, everything was the same. But Sukhdeepak was not the same because his strongly held beliefs had changed. Some of the things that I discovered in my journey, I'd like to share with you so that you understand that there is let me digress a little bit. I read a book called You Will See It If You Believe It. Now, there is a belief strongly held by a lot of people saying that, my reality is caused by my experiences and my beliefs are caused by my experiences. And what I discovered was it was not actually my experiences causing my beliefs. It was my beliefs that were causing my experiences. And I discovered that the reality that we create around us, the reality which is created by the sum total of the beliefs that we have made up, that reality is the world that we live in. That reality is what causes us to attract certain things in our life. That reality is something which causes us to, repel certain things that we want. So let me give you an example. When my father was a colonel in the army, Okay, very strict father he was. He loved me a lot. And I would look at other children and I'd say, look, they're so free and they're having fun with their father. Why is it that I cannot be comfortable and free with my father? Because the moment I would go in front of him, I would become absolutely petrified, stiff. And later, when I attended that program I was talking about, I remembered that there was this reality that was there in my mind. You've got to stand like a gentleman, you've got to sit like a gentleman, you need to laugh like a gentleman. All this is playing in the background. So the moment I go into his presence, I am standing like a gentleman. All right. Later on in life, when I was working for a multinational company, Mr. Kumarachandran, who used to be my boss, he used to tell me, Sukhdeepak, it's a pain to sit with you and drink. So we used to have these cocktail parties once in a while. And I used to be so stiff, I was so much holding myself back. I shouldn't get drunk. I should not misbehave. I should not say anything inappropriate. Now we are supposed to be in a party having fun, right? But I'm more conscious about what will people think about me. All right. I shouldn't do something stupid. I should speak exactly the way I'm supposed to speak. I should not make a mistake. Now, where is all that stuff coming from? When I go back and I, look at my childhood, till the time maybe I was 4 to 5 years old, I was free like a bird. I mean, I was having fun. I used to enjoy playing with other children. Okay, and somewhere after the age of 5 to 6, maybe, I started withdrawing from the world. Why? I started becoming a loner. Why? Because certain beliefs started getting planted in my head. And I wasn't even consciously aware of them. All right, so I come from a family, my father was a Sardarji and my mother was a Malayali Christian. So you can imagine we were in a family where we spoke only in English. In those days, my mom learned to speak in Hindi when I was, 21 years old. So there I was. And I still remember, always told, Sukhdeepak, you've got to be a good boy. See, this is how your beliefs are getting planted in your head. I still remember in Trivandrum, there was this party in our house and I was getting ready for it, enjoying. When there's a party in the house and a big one, everybody's attention is on the party and not on you. So as a child, you are free to do what you feel like. So I was there with my air gun, roaming around, shooting things. And my father used to give me a limited supply of those pellets which go into the air gun. Now, when those used to run out, I used to go to the kitchen and get that dal, there is a black kali dal, and I used to use that to shoot. So I went into the kitchen, and there was this cook who had come from the army mess, and he was making food over there. And we didn't have any gas those days. There was this logs, sticks burning, and smoky kitchen. I go in there, and this little lord and master, behaving like his father. Hey, dal deo, give me the dal. He said, nahi dunga. I said, how dare you talk to me like that? If you don't give it to me, I will beat you. And that fellow started laughing at me, and I completely got wild, pulled out one of those sticks from the fire, started hitting him with it. Can you imagine this little fellow, just about 6, 7 years old, trying to hit a 6 foot tall Jawan? That fellow is laughing at me even more. Now my dad heard the commotion and he came over there and he saw what was happening. He gave me one tight slap. He says, "You bloody idiot! The blood on the name of the Balwai Khandan. How dare you behave like that?" And my mother, as usual, trying to shelter me, she comes and holds me and says, "Oh, you're my good boy. You're my good boy. Good boys don't get angry." And can you imagine that after that day, two things happened. There was a belief planted in my head that my father doesn't love me anymore. And that's how I lived my life till the age of 40. My father doesn't love me anymore. And I should never get angry. So can you imagine? It took me about 20 years to allow myself to generate anger. I cannot get angry. If you get angry, people will not like you. If they don't like you, they'll not respect you. If they don't respect you, they will hate you. Okay? So these beliefs planted in your head, And another belief that got planted in my head was if somebody gets angry with you, that means they hate you. They don't love you anymore. Can you see the kind of reality you're creating? If somebody laughs at you. So, we were in Secunderabad, then we got transferred to Amritsar. In Secunderabad, something happens. My lovely teacher who used to like me a lot, she got replaced by a temporary replacement who was like a Durga, and she shouted at me one day. So I came home crying, and my mom says, "Oh, Sukhdeepak is such a shy guy. He's such a sensitive child." And to make matters worse, I fell ill. It had nothing to do with the shouting. I just fell ill. And my mom's telling my dad, Kittu is such a shy boy and sensitive guy. He got sick because the teacher scolded him. So when we went to the new school, what do you think happened? Parents went and met the teacher. And they said, "Look, our son is a very sensitive child. You should not scold him." Now you go and tell a class teacher that you should not scold our child. What do you think she's going to do? Right? And in those days, if your English was good, then you were the teacher's pet. And if you were the teacher's pet, then other children certainly did not like you. So you can imagine in Punjab, where everybody speaks in Punjabi, they were making fun of me and say, "Hey, aa gaya Angrez, So I thought, oh, if you're different from other people, nobody will like you and accept you. Another belief got planted in my head. Later in life, I discovered if you are extraordinary and you're different, you get marks for that. But here is a guy who believes if you are different and if you're extraordinary, it's dangerous. So try and be like everybody else. Are you beginning to see what is the impact of these beliefs in our life? And many of them were there. Believe me, now I can tell you about it. But I didn't know that I was carrying these things around. I just was being a certain kind of person in my life. There was no reason for me to be a shy guy. There was no reason for me to be an introvert. You get it? When I discovered this, oh, it's only a belief. Did I look at that belief as a belief? No, I didn't. For me, the so-called belief was the truth. I am like that. People are dangerous. People will take advantage of you if they can. After the program, I still remember, I go to the office, my liftman is smiling at me. The security guard is smiling at me. In the lunch break, we used to have lunch together. And my colleague who used to sit and have lunch with me every day, he comes and says, "Oh, hi, Sukhdeepak, how are you?" I said, "I'm fine." "So what happened to you, man?" I said, "Nothing." "Look, Sukhdeepak, I've been working with you for 7 years in this organization. I have never seen you smile in the office." That's when I realized I was all right outside the office. Okay, but in the office, I got to be, why? Because somewhere my father's voice was there in my head, "You bloody joker, behave yourself, be serious. Otherwise, nobody will respect you." So I wasn't being myself, right? And we are not talking about behaving inappropriately. We are talking about being free. Can you imagine now, all of you here, very, very distinguished speakers, do you realize or do you notice that when you are, not being yourself, there is a kind of staginess in the way that you speak, right? It doesn't come across naturally. Why? Because you're not being natural. And who says we cannot be natural? I mean, who says we cannot be effective if we are natural? What I've discovered is that if I can be me and if I can be authentic in my life, then I am going to be powerful and I'm going to be effective. And who's the enemy? Somewhere buried deep inside. See, I also want to share with you another one. See, I had this recurring pattern which would take place in my life. I mean, there are 2-3 patterns I want to share with you so you understand how beliefs impact you. Okay, so one of the patterns was that there would be great love and affection that I would get from people. And then suddenly something would happen and that affection would turn into indifference or even hatred. And for the life of me, I couldn't find out. So somewhere in the year 2006, I was attending a program by one of the only PhDs in NLP in the world, Father Dick Magoo. He was a 72-year-old guy that time. Okay. And there was this Tools of the Spirit program that I was doing. And suddenly in that program, I discovered that there was this song that was playing in my head and a song which I listened to in 1957. I was born in 53. So how old do you think I was? I didn't even understand Hindi at that time. My father used to listen to this song, हमने तो जब कलियां मांगी कांटों का हार मिला जाने वो कैसे लोग थे जिनको प्यार से प्यार मिला. So what it means is Whenever I asked for flowers, I got thorns. So it was like almost, like a programming. I still remember whenever there used to be a festival or a celebration in the family, I would get this feeling of apprehension and foreboding. You understand? I would be like, something bad is going to happen. And it usually did. And you know why that was there? Because I discovered during one of the programs another belief that I had. Because when we were small and growing up, during a festival, always there would be a blow up. My father would get angry and shout at somebody or the other. So if he couldn't shout at my mom, I being the eldest, I would get it. So it was there in my mind, something bad is going to happen. And if you remember these old Hindi movies that we used to watch, really old ones in the 50s and 60s, okay? There'll be a song and they're dancing and romancing and suddenly, bang, they're caught, So I still remember later on in life when I'm listening to this song on a movie, I'm already beginning to feel now something bad is going to happen. And that's exactly what was happening in life too. Now, can you imagine you carrying a belief that, if somebody shouts at you, that means they don't love you anymore. So here I got married at the age of 21 to my childhood sweetheart, and we had our first child after 1 year promptly. All right. And then something happened, and my lady love got very angry with me and she yelled at me, Now, she doesn't love me. All right. I made a mistake of marrying this woman who doesn't love me. Now, what do you think happened to my marriage then? For 13 years, we were battling merrily ever after. Why? Because my belief made me give up on that relationship, saying that she doesn't love me. She hates me now. She thinks she made a mistake marrying me. So what do you think would have happened after 13 years? I don't have to get into that one. So obviously, this guy likes to punish himself. So after a couple of years, he decides to get married. Because who's going to look after his children? Right? And promptly, lo and behold, after 2.5 years, there's a big fight in the house. The lady gets mad at you and shouts at you. And I say, oh shit, oh shoot, I made a mistake. She hates me too. And thank God, that's the time when I discovered that, Sukhdeepak, it is your belief that if somebody gets angry with you, they don't love you anymore. And thank God I got that belief. I discovered, hey, that's your belief. So I was talking to Anjali. I told her, why do you speak to me like that? She says, because I care for you a hell of a lot. You are my husband. I cannot allow you to, make a mistake in life. So I get agitated when you don't listen to me. So I yell at you because I love you. Busted a belief. Thank God I got out of that belief. Because I'm sorry to say that, right from the day we were born, we are being influenced and indoctrinated, first of all, by all the storybooks that we read, and they lived happily ever after. So the belief is that once you're married, you should live happily, Unhappiness has no place in your life. Hello? If you live with someone, there is going to be ups and downs. Right? But what is my belief saying? Right? If there is a down means now it's not okay anymore. So life that could be wonderful and satisfying doesn't remain wonderful and satisfying anymore. Why? Because you start believing, oh, this is a big mistake. This is not the way it's supposed to be. Like God came and told us what it's supposed to be? No. We made it up. So belief is something which we believe to be true. In fact, we live our whole life believing that it's true. Like how many beliefs we have? I am shy. I'm not good enough. People don't like me. People who look at me in this manner, they are not good people. People who look at me like this, oh, that's a slimy smile. But God came and told you that. Have you noticed that how much of judging is going on? Now, if you look at this circle here, beliefs, judgments, and depending on your judgment, you will have actions or non-actions. Okay, either you will do something or you will decide to stop doing something. For example, if I had a judgment call, oh, she doesn't love me anymore. So what will I do? Oh, now I need to withdraw. I don't have to shower so much affection on a person who doesn't love me anymore. Right? So I stop making the effort. When I stop making the effort, what's the result? My belief is always strengthened by it. Let me give you another example. When I was about 7 or 8 years old, I don't remember how old, I was in class 3. So my colonel father suddenly decided to take interest in my studies. And thank God he taught me only maths. All right. Now these army officers, no, they have time only in the evening. And at least my dad had time only in the evening. And in the evening he would have his 1 or 2 pints. And after that, his behavior was rather uncertain. Okay, 1 minute he'll be like, my beloved son, meri aankhon ka noor, right? And the next minute he'll say, you bloody idiot, you've got no brain. So I was very scared around him because you never know what he's going to do. So this man decides to teach me the tables. 2 1s are 2. So every day I'm doing that. Okay. Now one day, unfortunately, I forgot this 9 nines. And here is my dear father encouraging me. Come on, Sudeepak, you know it. You are so intelligent. You know the answer. Yesterday you told me. Now he thinks he's encouraging me because that's what he uses to encourage his jawans or whatever. Right? Here is this guy, so frightened, and I completely froze. Brain theory tells you, when you yell at somebody, his rational mind is switched off. So that's what was happening to me. Now instead of cooling down and telling me nicely, he gives me one dhap and he says, you bloody idiot, you have no brain. You're as stupid as your mother. You can never learn maths. You can never learn maths. And you are as stupid as your mother. So what is getting planted in my brain? All right? Judgment. Belief is, I can never learn maths. All right? I'm stupid. Now, when I'm sitting in the classroom and the maths teacher was explaining the maths problem or something, I am not even listening because my mind is saying, you can never learn maths. So that's a non-action. And you know what the result is? I would never solve the maths problem. And when I did not solve the maths problem, what is the result? My belief, see, you can never learn maths. So that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now the guy who was coming first in his class till then started coming 10th after that because of a belief that gets planted in his head. And the very interesting thing is that you keep living with that belief, right? And then you're living with the pretense, that it's okay, I'm trying hard. And you are actually trying hard. But the underlying belief is, what's the use of trying? You will never be able to get it anyway. So my story of my life was, how do I escape from maths? Okay, so when I came to 9th, I was in Chennai, in Adayar Kendriya Vidyalaya, I remember. We had to choose, So I said, I will choose science, because you have to do special mathematics. And that also only in the 9th. After that, no more maths. I said, wonderful. But you know what? The bad news was later on I discovered, in physics and chemistry also you've got these formulas. So if anything looks like a formula, means it's maths. And I'll never be able to get it. Can you see how, I would have chosen to be an engineer and I got pushed to be a doctor because my father said I have to be a doctor. So all my life, never experiencing any freedom. Is it freedom that you are living according to the beliefs that have been indoctrinated in you? A belief system that says that you always have to get the approval of these people who are there in your life. Because if they don't approve, that means they don't love you and you can't survive without love. It's true, you cannot survive without love because love is an energy which we need. And love is an energy which we experienced when we were little children, when our mother, held us in her arms. That was probably the only time there was complete open energy being showered upon you, the energy of love. After that, it became transactional. If you are a good boy, I will love you. If you get high marks, I will love you. Otherwise, I will withdraw my love. So it's been a race to get that love and approval from these people. Why? Because of beliefs that got planted in my head. And ladies and gentlemen, you're all very, very distinguished and I'll repeat, wonderful and magnificent and extraordinary human beings. Even I was. But if somebody had told me that, I wouldn't have believed it. I would have said, oh, me, you're talking about me. I am wonderful. because in my belief system, in all the judgments that I was passing on myself, I wasn't good enough. But trying to prove to the world what a great guy I am. And I only gave it up somewhere in the 90s. I just gave it up. I said, what's the point? It's just your belief system that says that you need to, win the approval of people and you need to impress people. And that's the time when I gave up all pretense. That's the time I learned that I can focus on what I do best, and that's making a difference in people's lives. There also beliefs will come in, no? No, there has to be a measure. How are you making a difference in people's life? Have you noticed that we will even have a measure which is a comparative measure? Your younger brother, youngest fellow, started his career when you were already a senior officer, and look, he's become director of a company and you are only a trainer. Hello, I am very successful in what I chose to do. He's successful in what he chose to do. Am I going to allow somebody's comparison to make me look down on myself? Thank God I'd had a breakthrough, so I didn't. But just see, we have a tendency to judge everybody, isn't it? And who do we judge most of all? We judge ourselves. Right? You tell me, when you have to judge something, there has to be some kind of a yardstick, right? What is your basis of judgment? So there has to be something that you're going to compare it with, isn't it? If you say good and bad as compared to what? Oh, somebody is good as compared to what? So you will always find that the yardstick that we have for judging ourselves or anybody else is our own belief system. And these beliefs are not the truth. Somebody might judge me completely differently depending on his belief system. So how arrogant we are as human beings that we made up some beliefs which are not the truth, but we think they are the truth, and we use those beliefs as the yardstick to judge other people and to judge ourselves, and then decide how we should behave with them or not. You understand? Because what I have discovered is that these beliefs are like a prison. See, I am in the possibility generation business. I believe that enterprising people, they see possibilities where ordinary people see roadblocks and obstacles. Now, the biggest roadblock is our own beliefs, because beliefs that we have, they limit our perception of possibilities. Because if we're going to compare everything, based on my beliefs about myself and the world, will I ever be able to see possibilities outside that? It's a question to be with. That's one of the reasons why I'm very, very passionate about this belief business. Look, there's nothing right or wrong, but we live in a world where we always look at everything right and wrong, good and bad. That's all we are doing. Based on what? Based on our beliefs, which are not even the truth. Something that we choose. And it's very interesting, we will always gather around us people who believe the same as what we believe, so that we can say, see, everybody says the same thing, right? Let's talk about beliefs. When this COVID thing happened, there was doom and gloom all around, and the people said, oh my God, business is finished, this and that and the other. There were some people who refused to believe that, right? They actually said, hello, this is an opportunity. It's not a breakdown, it's an opportunity. So this big company, I don't want to name it, they had, loans of more than 2,000 crores and they were being prosecuted internationally. They've managed to wipe out the entire loan during the COVID period. So how did they do that? When the COVID started, my own profession, I'm a trainer who does face-to-face training. I've always avoided doing this, online stuff. 7 years back, I was approached by a company, hey, Subdeepak, why don't you do virtual trainings? We will give you the studio, we will give you the material, everything. I said, no. The truth was, I was not comfortable with this medium. But what was I saying to them? Face-to-face is better. I still say face-to-face is better. But times are changing. COVID forced this upon me. So I said, all right, now here is an opportunity to do something which you never did before. So I launched a series of programs. Another very interesting thing happened, that I realized that somewhere in the last 10, 15 years, I had gone away from my purpose in life. And one of the things I've learned in life is the moment you deviate from the purpose of your existence, then suffering begins to start happening in your life. So, capital M became more important than my mission in life or my purpose in life. And everything started getting measured by, what's your billing? How many numbers are you getting now? And thank God to Mr. COVID, I was reminded that, hey, Subdeepak, you are in this business because you believe in a world that works for everybody. That's your mission. Money will follow. Stop obsessing about money. And it's quite interesting. My savings actually went up because we were spending less. My billing should have gone down, but it didn't go down substantially. So it busted another belief in my mind that if you open your mind and start looking for possibilities, then there are possibilities galore. But who's stopping those possibilities to be visible in my life? My own belief system. And the problem with these beliefs is that they so insidiously creep up upon you, you see. You don't even know that they are creeping up upon you. I'm remembering this story somebody told me about this frog, They were doing some experiments. They took this frog and put him in boiling water and he jumped out, tuck. And then they took another frog and they put him in normal water and they very slowly started heating it. And he got so used to it. At some point, the water was boiling and he died in it, not realizing the water is getting hotter and hotter. And that's how these beliefs creep up upon us. Age and experience is a wonderful thing. Fareed, you and I have age and experience on our side. But another, the pitfall also is that we are picking up more and more these beliefs insidiously. We are picking up these I know. And the more of these I knows are getting into our head, it is kind of limiting possibility. So I have this battle and I've been fighting it very well, I'm happy to say. And I've made it a rule. I will attend one new program every year, spend 10 days, and a good amount of money. The latest among them has been this access consciousness stuff that I've started working on. So if you look at this long list that Mangai was reading out, it's only because I do not want this arrogance of ignorance to come inside me. So when I say arrogance of ignorance, it means ignorance which comes when you become fixed in your beliefs. Arrogance that comes up when you have transparent beliefs. So what is a transparent belief? See, for a fish who lives in the water, water is transparent. He doesn't know it exists. It is there, right? Taken for granted. Like for us, air is there. If it is not there, suddenly we realize, oh, air is so important. So these transparent beliefs are beliefs which we hold as the truth, and they're very subtly and insidiously influencing our life. They're influencing our decisions. They are influencing whether we are going to allow ourselves to be happy or not. That's the sad part of it. Sometimes I tell people, I say, listen, isn't it better to look for reasons to be happy rather than finding out reasons to be unhappy, which you seem to be doing all the time? But why are people seeking out reasons to be unhappy? Where are they coming from? Their belief system. So this world of SQ, when I started seriously working on it, started when I did the Vipassana meditation program, that I actually experienced a few things which is very, very different. It kind of bust apart my belief system. Most important thing that happened was living in a state of higher awareness. When you start living in a state of higher awareness, then you get away from your reactive mind. See, most of the time we are either reacting or resisting, and all our reacting and resisting comes from the reactive mind. That can be the basis for another session I can do for all of us, the three brain theory that I have. So when we are in that, this rational mind, this all perceiving mind, this possibility seeking mind, this mind which loves change, right? This mind is focused so much on goals and the future, is very rarely being used. So when we start living in a state of higher awareness, then we know, hello, where's my judgment coming from? What is this belief behind it? How do I know that belief is true? And the beautiful thing is that we keep proving to ourselves that this belief is true. We'll find enough evidence in life to find out that the belief is true. Like I gave you the example of maths. If I'm not listening in the maths class, I cannot do that sum, and I will have evidence to see I didn't do it. So my intention was to make people realize the impact or the influence that our beliefs have on our life, and what can become possible when you start questioning these beliefs. See, firstly, being aware that how subtly, daily, minute by minute, we are influenced by our transparent beliefs. We don't even think that these are beliefs. So every time you say, I know, oh, he's like that. Hello, that's your belief talking, not you. Every time you judge yourself or somebody else, that's your belief talking. So if you just say, okay, I believe he's like that, you're not so rigid and you're not so righteous about things, right? other possibilities will start opening up in life. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deepak ji. And your session has been truly inspiring and very introspective. And if you can take away a few pointers that you have given us, it will go a long way in our lives. Thank you very much. I greatly valued.
Thank you very much.